Hello students, I am Rajeshri ma'am and today I am going to explain a story Samrat Sambar by Margaret Bhatti. Margaret Bhatti was an Indian writer. She was born in 1930 and she was a school teacher as well as prolific writers of short stories and dramas. She got many awards from BBC for short story and drama also, and this is a story which is set in the Kumayun Himalaya. This is a part of Himalaya. A sunny break after a fortnight of wet monsoon weather was a good chance to get out of the house and into the jungle. It was a sunny break. There was a heavy rainfall for 15 days. You know, the weather on the Himalaya is very cloudy. There is a heavy rainfall, and especially in the during the monsoon time, and they were observing 15 days rain, and now they have got a sunny break and was in and intended to go out of the house for a trip in the jungle. Bishan Singh, the cheerful old Kumaini who managed our estate, needed stakes to support the soya plants that were just putting out tendrils. And Bishan Singh used to work in their estate. He was a Kumayuni. That this is the part. This part is called Kumayun, and he was an inhabitant of Kumayun. Then that is why he is Kumayuni, and he managed our estate. Estate is a large property and needed stakes to support soya plants. Stakes are the wooden posts to give support to the climbers. Here the soya plants are planted, and they needed support. So we set off, my younger sister and I, along with Bishan's wife Kamli, armed with small axes, a sickle, and a length of string. They axes for cutting dry dry branches of the trees to make wooden posts for tying up the soya plants, a sickle, and sickle is also a cutting instrument, and a length of string to tie the plants. With us was our best friend, a pie dog. Pie dog is a stray dog, just 6 months old, with two ragged ears and a jalebi tail. Ragged ears, that means ears were looking like rags, and tail was like a jalebi. Like all Kumaini village dogs, he answered to the name of Pincho. All the Kumainis would call the dogs as Pincho. The and he was also used to answer to this name. The monsoon in the mountains has a smell of its own. Wet charpines, damp moss, tree, ferns, and sodden grass. And this is the description of the monsoon in the mountains. It has its own smell of charpines. This is a kind of tree, and damp moss, tree ferns, and sodden grass, wet grass. We took long, deep breaths of them all, and it was an exhilarating walk on the all the way down. They were very much excited. Exhilarating means exciting, very much exciting, and they were taking the smell of that Himalaya, and they were very much excited to go out. Tall Himalayan lilies filled the air with their heavy perfume, and overhead, orchids clustered on the moss covered branches of the great oaks and magnificent deodars. And there were tall Himalayan lilies. Lily is a kind of flower, and it has in our plains there is no smell of lilies, but there in the Himalayas there is a heavy smell, heavy fragrance of this flower. Orchids clustered and clustered, that means bunched on the moss covered branches of the great oaks. Oaks, you know, it's a kind of big tree, large tree. And the magnificent deodars. Deodars are also coniferous trees. Saints were always a serious business with Pincho. Pincho is a dog, and that is why he is always prone to smell something mischievous. If he thinks anything mysterious or mischievous, he always smells that. Halfway down the slope, he latched onto one, which made him huff and puff and wheeze with excitement, his long tongue hanging out as he let it lead him tantalizingly by the nose. He started chasing or taking interest. Latched onto means taking interest, or started chasing something mysterious, some mysterious smell, and started huff and puff, that means hopping and skipping, and wheeze with excitement, made a sound of excitement, his long tongue hanging out as he let it lead him tantalizingly by the nose. His tongue was hanging out, and as if it was not being able to touch its nose. Headlong he went over a small rise, smack into the midst of a troop of langurs basking in the sudden warmth of the monsoon sun. And then he found that there were some langurs. Langurs means monkeys whose faces are black, or Hanuman. They are also called Hanuman, and they were basking, that means taking sunshine. Basking means taking sunshine, made themselves warm in the monsoon sun. It's Lat Langur and his clan means its race. There was Lat Langur and all his troops or group. I cried, recognizing the leader. As the leader of the band, he carried himself proudly, even though he looked more like an old man with untidy silver grey hair and whiskers standing up around his black face. And the author, or a small child here, had recognized the leader, and he said, yes, I can recognize. Yes, he is Langur. And then that Langur was very much proud, even though he's looked more like an old man, though his look was like an old man and untidy, but he was very much proud. His symbol of office was his tail. That means his majestic style was his tail. It was the longest of all, and he strolled among his followers, grooming each other in the sun. He held it aloft like a ceremonial umbrella. He was very proud, and he kept his tail upright or aloft like a ceremonial umbrella. In the ancient times, the kings were covered by a big umbrella by his servants, and the tail of the langur was like that ceremonial umbrella. When we appeared, the langurs glanced up briefly. He just saw once. Briefly means just he saw once at his face. They never look so superior when Bishan is around. My sister remarked. His sister remarked that these fellows do not feel so much relaxed or so much proud when there is Bishan here. Whenever he appeared, the langurs quickly took off, scrambling into the trees and crashing through the jungle in great flying leaps. And whenever Bishan was present there, he used to chase him, and that is why they got afraid, and they would get afraid and jumped off the place, from that place to into the jungle. Pincho had no experience with langurs. With the brushness of a beginner, he now dashed into their midst, yelping and snapping at their backs from a safe distance, of course. And now Pincho had not ever seen any langur, and that is why brushness, that means overconfidence, with overconfidence he started making yelping or barking and snapping at their back. He made uh, all the things to scare the langurs from a safe distance. Of course, they looked at him with disgust on their faces, but the langurs became disgusted. Such unseemly noise on such a lovely day. Why is he so making so much noise when there is a lot of sunshine? So lovely, pleasant day it was. But when Pincho persisted in his racket, Lat Langur sauntered across and made a grab for the insolent puppy and slapped him soundly. And when Pincho did not stop doing all this, making all this noise, Lat Langur slapped on his face, and he, with a yelp of fright, Pincho landed on his back in the grass, and Pincho had fallen on his back, quickly getting to his feet. But again he stood up. He tucked his tail in between his legs. Whenever the dogs get frightened, they tuck their tail between their legs. And that is why Pincho had also tucked his tail between his legs and crept to where we stood. And quickly he came back to the place where the children were standing. What were the author and the other carrying when they set off towards the jungle? The author and the others carrying sickle, small axes, and a length of string when they set off towards the jungle. What were the langurs doing? The langurs were basking in the sun, basking in the sudden warmth of the monsoon sun. What did Pincho do when he latched onto a smell? Pincho, uh, Pincho made him huff and puff and wheeze with excitement, and his long tongue hanging out as he let it lead him tantalizingly by the nose. When he saw the langurs, when he latched onto a smell. But he soon forget his humiliation when he picked up another scent lower down. But at the next moment, he forgot the humiliation, that means that his disrespect by the langurs, and he started smelling another scent. This led him into a scrub where he was soon lost to sight, and he started running to find out the scent. On the slope on the other side sped his quarry, and on the other side he started searching his quarry. That means the animal he was searching. It was the single male Sambar who lived somewhere on Mahatpani, probably also enjoying the sunny smell and now disturbed by our dog. And there was a sambar which is a which belonged to the sambars belong to the family of deer, and it was Samrat Sambar because it was very big and majestic. That is why he was called Samrat Sambar. We whistled Pincho back to us, not wanting him to get lost, and the Sambar quickly disappeared into the trees. And uh, Pincho was barking, but the Sambar disappeared into the trees. He was a magnificent creature, full grown, over 5 feet high at the shoulder. It is the description of Samrat Sambar. The first time we saw him, he wasn't looking so grand with his horns tattered. When they saw him at first time, then his horns were tattered, were not in a good condition or broken. But the next time he had gotten brand new set and looked his imperial best. So we named him Samrat. But afterwards his horns had grown up again, and he looked majestic at that time. Imperial best means majestic. But Bishan didn't share our enthusiasm for the sambar. But Bison did not like the sambar. He did more damage to a standing crop than Lat Langur and his troop of 30 monkeys or even half a dozen hares, because sambar used to damage crops even more than the Lat Langurs and the troop and the dozen and a half a dozen hares. But father wouldn't hear of Sambar being driven away. But the author's father was an animal lover, and that is why he did not drive him away. Like many other wild creatures, the Sambar found safe haven in our place because we never even let forest fires get inside the boundary, and wildlife was left undisturbed. But all the wild creatures were safe, or heaven means, that means protected. The heaven is a protected place, so they found safe haven, that means safe protected place in their estate. And forest fires were not even um, allowed in that place. They were also driven away from there to make the animals safe. Gate inside the boundary and wildlife was safe, left undisturbed, and that is why the wildlife creatures were very much um, in peace in that estate of the authors. So this is the first part of the explanation of the story, the Samrat Sambar, and I will again come with the second part of the story. So now bye students. Thank you for watching my channel.